Welcome back to another episode on the Oak and Rock Fatherhood YouTube channel. I'm your host, Zachary Small from thefamilyalpha.com and fraternityofexcellence.com. I am joined by Anthony Migliorino from peacefulfathers.com. Anthony, what's going on, brother?
What's happening, Zach? How we doing?
Just another wonderful topic. Today, we're going to talk about teen suicide and teen pain, a very deep, dark, yet absolutely necessary conversation to have. Nobody wants to talk about the kids hurting themselves. Nobody wants to talk about kids going through pain. But if we don't talk about what it is that's going on in the dark, we can never fix it, address it, and just bring it into the light. So that's why this conversation is so necessary. If you haven't already done so, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. And this Wednesday, we'll be running our live Q&A, so you can set your reminder for that. And we'll see you there. We can address questions live. But for right now, teen suicide, teen pain. Anthony, before we kick this off, we were talking about how your kids are phasing out of the teen years while mine are about to enter. So we're hitting this from two different perspectives. So before I talk about what I'm doing to be proactive and stay ahead of it, I'd love to hear your experience and what you went through with your kids or their friends as they were coming up.
Yeah, this is it's a tough topic, and it's something that I wish that I would never hear out of another father's mouth or a parent's mouth, to say that their kids said they want to kill themselves, or even show signs of it. So it's troubling that we even have to have these conversations, right? We have to basically talk about how we can prevent kids from wanting to kill themselves, especially our kids. And my kids are older. This is something that we've been through. Not that any of them have attempted suicide, but there's been conversations, plenty conversations about this. And I'm a firm believer in prevention. So instead of it becoming a problem, let's start working on solutions before it's even in existence, right? Before my kids even get to a spot where they're saying, I don't want to live anymore. I don't enjoy my life. I hate my life. I want to die. I parented, obviously peaceful parenting, but I parented where I wanted to make sure that my kids knew they were safe in my home, that they knew their dad loved them. They knew their mother loved them. And no matter what was going on, they didn't have to face it by themselves, right? They had us they can come back to, whether that's a bad breakup with a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or that's bullying in school, or just, anything, any depression, something didn't go right. I wanted to make sure my kids knew that they had a strong foundation in our home, that they were getting love and acceptance unconditionally. And not only that, but we can talk about the difficult things, right? We can have those difficult conversations. So when my kids were growing up, there were times we had conversations about this. And there was one time one of my daughters asked me, told me one of her friends were cutting themselves. And she asked me, she's like, Dad, why would they do that? Right? Why would they inflict pain, and why were they seeking that negative attention? And I would explain to them just that, right? Nobody's giving them attention. Nobody's giving them love. So the only way they can feel is by hurting themselves. And then that's going to get attention, right? Then the parents are going to be like, oh my God, what are you doing? Why are you hurting yourself? And when that happens, like if you're a parent in that position, that isn't a time where you have to see your child as manipulating you, or seeing them that, they're just doing that for attention. No, they're doing that because they need love. It's not attention that they really want. They want love. They want acceptance. So you have to really have a clear focus and a rational thought process when these things are going on. You can't just dismiss it. It's way too important. And, fortunately, my kids, they've been raised in a peaceful household. We wouldn't inflict violence on anybody else in my home, outside of self-defense. And they would never inflict violence on themselves, right? My kids know, because we've had the conversation, that when things get tough, we don't have to hurt ourselves. There's other ways around it, right? We're going to continue to work on and improving ourselves. We're going to face the hard things. We're not going to hide from them, right? We're not going to run away. And ultimately, suicide is there's no coming back from it. Once you make that decision, it's over. It's done. So I never want my kids to be in that position. I never want them to think they're out of options. And that's something I have to continually express and show them that they don't have to be alone. So to me, and in my home, that was the main thing. It was prevention, and it was having those uncomfortable conversations, just like all the uncomfortable talks you have to have as a dad.
That last point you made is crucial. You're still doing it. You're still there. You're still talking to them. This doesn't end with teens. But the reason teen is specific, we're choosing that for this call or episode, whatever the fuck you want to call it, is because that's where there's a lot of change going through kids. That's that transition physiologically from child to adult. There new hormones, new issues. Multiple times you said my kids. Well, you have 2 girls and a boy. This isn't a boy or a girl issue. I was looking at the stats from a Stanford study that boys are 4 times more likely to die from suicide, but girls are far more likely to try to commit it. Think about that. Everybody is hurting. It's worse for boys because they're dying, and it's less worse for girls because they're trying it, but they're not dying. Like, they're all feeling pain. So what are a few things that are happening to cause that pain? Well, when you're the kid and you're still playing with your toys and you're doing your thing, and all of a sudden you start noticing girls, all of a sudden your body starts changing and you start caring about things you didn't care about. You're caring about fitting in. You're caring about the right clothes. You're caring about being smart enough. You're caring about the judgments that's falling upon you. You're closing in on wanting the freedom to go out and live your life and make your choices, but you're also still a kid. So you're somewhat restrained. You can't just hop in a car and go when you're 16. You're almost at that point. You're right there. You might have your driver's license, but you can't just disappear and go somewhere else. You don't have your own home. You don't have your own life to go to. And mentally, you think you're there, but there's still a lot of development going on. And there's still a lot of aspects to that developing mind that are still very immature. And they need some strengthening before entering the world. And that's for boys and girls. So when you said for parents to just dismiss it, oh, they're just moody. Oh, they're just being a teen. Dude, that's one of the most disrespectful and just disgustingly weak actions you can take as a parent. To dismiss their pain to something as simple as, oh, it's hormones. Even if it is. Oh, she's being hormonal. Well, go talk to her. Oh, he's just angry because testosterone's going up. That fucking son needs you right now. Go speak to him because he is hurting. It probably is testosterone going through the roof. Or your daughter, all of a sudden caring about the friend clique and then she's out of it, so she's feeling bad about herself. She needs dad to step up. You can't say, oh, they're just being 2-year-olds. Oh, they're just being 7. Oh, they're just being teens. Oh, what is your job if not to step in those situations when they're 2, 5, 7, 9, 10, 15, 35? Like, what is your job as a man and a father and a leader of a family if not to be there when they need you, regardless of why they need you? And that is something I think we really need to drive the point home to, because it's so easy. Oh, they're just being teens. It's not normal. Suicide is not a normal thing. To have that conversation and be like, I want to end it. That's not normal. It's become normalized, but that doesn't make wrong, no matter how popular, is not right.
Yeah, it is the second leading cause of death among adolescents. And like you said, why are we dismissing it? Why are we not taking it serious? How have we grown so empty within ourselves to not recognize this as a problem, to not say, hey, when my kid is in pain, that I need to comfort them, that I need to be that rock. I need to be the oak and the rock. I need to show my kids that I'm here. We're going to handle it. We're going to get past this. Don't worry. And I couldn't imagine being a child and whatever you're facing, right? Any difficulty, and your parents not being empathetic, not being understanding, but instead saying, stop exaggerating, and just dismissing anything you're going through. And it's weird because we sometimes think that will make oversensitive kids, but it's the exact opposite, right? When we show our kids how to emotionally regulate, when we show them that, hey, we're here, we're listening, then that's when they can start to process things and work past those tough emotions. When we continually dismiss it, that's when the chaos happens, right? That's when the the hypersensitivity, the aggression, the depression, all these behaviors and all these thoughts, that's when they overcome our kids because they're not mentally prepared. So when your kids are in pain, comfort them, right? Show them you care. Let them know that, hey, life gets tough, but in our home, we're going to continue to improve. We're going to continue to build. We're going to continue to show love. We're going to have respect in this house. And we want to grow. We want to help each other. That is how you stop this from changing your home, from creating a home environment that everybody in your house, they love to belong to be a part of, to work together. This is the cure, right? This is the process that we have to go through. And it starts with dad. It starts with dad changing his behaviors, changing his attitudes. And I really think it's way too important to dismiss it, right? To know that you can have a significant impact on your child's life just by how you act and respond to them. We spoke about this on the fatherhood absence episode, right? Being a father who's present and aware is saving lives. You don't have to get complicated. This doesn't have to be some extravagant thing. Just stop being an asshole. Stop being mean. Stop being aggressive. Stop being strict. Stop being shallow and empty, right? Start opening up. Be a man. Show your kids fatherly love. Embrace it. It's the greatest job you're going to have. So it frustrates me sometimes, man. I don't know why dads are so close-minded, why their hearts are so closed, and they just they just can't be with their kids. They just can't accept that and love them.
Well, I think it's the open wound that they're carrying. They're still so close guarded because they had to be when they were teens, nobody answered, and they had to toughen themselves up to where we see the scar and we're like, all right, that wound is healed. I don't think it has in many men. Maybe physically, the bruises from their parents, the bruises from their cutting themselves or burning themselves or whatever, those healed. But if you don't heal the invisible wound, which remains open for many, there's no way you can connect to your kid. You're too busy protecting yourself from having to face your own demon that you can't extend the energy needed and the commitment needed and the understanding needed to your child. And it makes me think, it's going to be a little weird example, but in the movie The Sixth Sense, the kid says to Bruce Willis, he's like, how can you help if you don't believe me? Because he's saying he didn't believe him about seeing dead people. And that hit me. Like, how can you help your teen child who's going through what they're going through if you're not willing to get down on your knee and enter their world? Get down at their level, enter their world and see it from their eyes. Only then, when you believe that they're actually hurting, can you help them. But as long as you're saying it's just high school, it's just middle school, you'll get over it, you're speaking as an adult. They're not adults. They're teens. That is their world. They don't have a job they're going to. They don't have a college. They have literally the same middle school or high school that they're still going to, and that is their whole world. That's all they know. That's all you've allowed them to know as well. They don't know what it's like to be able to go beyond those walls. For many teens, they don't have their parents putting in the reps to allow them to understand what happens at school and what's going on there is not me. It's a place I go, it's where I learn, but my identity is not forged in that. My identity is forged by myself. I choose who I am, where I'm going to go, and what I'm going to do in life. And when they put all of their identity, and this is inevitable, you can't stop your kids from having friends and caring about their peer group. You should, to a degree, care about your peer group as long as it's the right peer group. So when you're doing this and your kids are going through this, it seems trivial and trite to you because you're outside of it as an adult. If you get in their world, you'll see, man, this does hurt when, you've got your three friends and they all turn their back on you for whatever. Or, you didn't make the team and all your bros left and you're sitting here like, well, who the fuck am I? Like, I'm trying to think of the examples these kids go through. And the worst part of it is when something bad happens at school and then they come home and it's still happening at home. They go to school, maybe they're bullied, maybe they're teased, maybe whatever's going on that's causing them pain. Then they come home and dad's telling them, get over it, suck it up. And mom's like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. And they go to their room alone and they're just sitting there in a world of darkness saying, how the hell am I supposed to go on another week like this? I have no escape. It's like the ship is on a storm when it's out of school and they come back in, the ship is still in a storm in here, and they have no harbor or no safe harbor to go to. They can't pull in and relax. They don't have anybody that can go and be like, hey, man, take a break. We're good. Let's relax. Let's focus. Let's put this into perspective. And now what can I do to help you? What is it that's hurting? And sometimes it doesn't need to be as direct. How are you feeling? And just sit and listen. Hey, what's been going on? And listen. There's a lot of signs that they give you. And we all know the signs. Changes of behaviors. If they're wearing long sleeves in a really hot day, well, what are you hiding? Is it bruises? Is it cuts? Is it you're just going through some weird things? And just constant involvement will allow you to sort of stay ahead of that curve. But if you are going to tell your kid it doesn't matter and this is just get over it, you're just a teen, well, you might find yourself in a position where your kid is experiencing preventable pain, and it's because you didn't take them seriously. And that's not a fate I would wish on any man, but that's the reality. You might not matter to you. It matters with everything that's inside that child, and you need to make that your top priority. You're muted.
All right. What I was saying, those were some really good points. That was some hard hitting stuff. And, it's sad to think that to be a young child or a teenager and not have a place to go where you can feel comfortable, right? Where you can feel safe. And like you were saying, if you're having trouble in school and then you come home and it's just getting piled on, I think the important part of that, and this is something we spoke when we had Jared on as a guest. He said you can't go back and remember what it was like to be a teenager, right? He was saying that the cognitive ability, the development, and which is important to understand. I would say that you can definitely, though, empathize with your kids, right? You can see them go through pain, put yourself in their shoes, and say, hey, when I was 13 and I felt down and I was depressed and I didn't, I was unsure or uncertain, what would have helped me in that moment, right? What could my dad have done that would have made me feel better? And I don't mean, buy me a pony. I mean, like, how could he have spoken to me? Would it have just been a hug? Would it have just been say, hey, I see that you're down. Is there something you need to talk about or something you want to talk about? Whatever that looks like to you personally, right? When you see your kids in tough times, that's how you need to respond, right? This is how we need to act as men. We need to make sure that when our kids are down, when they're not in a good spot, we don't always have to lift them up, which it would be nice if we could, right? But we're not always going to have the right things to say or the right things to do. A lot of times, the best way we can help is just by being there with them, right? Letting them know they're not alone. And if we go back a little bit to early childhood development, when our kids are little, and our goal as a parent or what our job is to do is to allow our kids to process emotions naturally, right? To learn how to develop, to do things, and learn how to express themselves. If we're always telling our kids no when they're younger, if we're always putting restriction on them, if we're always telling them they're bad, don't do that, don't do this, shut up, be quiet, go in your room, that is going to go into their teenage years, right? That thought process, how they think, how they see themselves. So now when they're teens, we've already set them up for failure. When they start having these big emotions as a teenager, these real emotions, they're not going to want to express it. They're not going to want to come to you. So again, prevention, right? We have to go back to when they're kids and make sure that we take them seriously, even at 2, right? They might be upset that a toy broke. And we tell them, oh, don't worry, I'll buy you a new one. Or all you're doing is suppressing that emotion. And it sounds silly, but it's not, right? This is how we develop our kids. So when they're 2 years old or 3 years old and they have these big emotions, don't take it for granted, right? Don't suppress it because it bothers you. Embrace it. Be strong enough where you can withstand a 3-year-old crying for 5 minutes because they broke their favorite toy. And again, it sounds weird or silly, but This is how we develop that emotional stability. This is how when your kid becomes older, now it's something serious, right? Oh, my boyfriend broke up with me. Instead of being alone, instead of dealing with that in isolation, they know they have dad, right? They know they have mom. They know they have the family that's going to bring them out of it. And life doesn't have to be dark, right? That darkness doesn't have to overcome us or overcome them, and they can be able to say, "Hey, man, I'm really feeling bad right now, right? I don't know what to do." And that's when you offer advice, when you're asked for it. That's when it works the best.
So we just recorded the video on manipulation, so you guys should check that out. But you were talking about, hey, I'll buy you a pony, and that'll make you happy. Another part of that too, is you can't manipulate your child to happiness. Like they have to find that with themselves, and it can't be, oh, I'll buy you a new shirt, oh, I'll buy you this, I'll buy you that. Like, no. Now, what you could certainly do, hey, let's go get some lunch. Hey, you look at you know what? Let's go get some ice cream. But the ice cream is just the medium. Hey, instead of sitting staring at each other across the table, how are you feeling? You look really sad. Hey, while you're sitting there and you're scooping your ice cream, you're playing your thing, like, hey, you haven't really been as practicing as hard for your sports. What's going on there? Or you haven't been talking about your friend Susie. Hey, what's up with you guys? Like, how you guys doing? And like, oh, well, whatever. And you kind of just find a roundabout way in there. But your connection to your kid and their happiness, that should be in the two of you together. That connection, that bond that you have, it's between the two of you. So what you need to do is just keep pushing forward and make sure your connection is strong. If you can do that, when your teen comes in with a problem where they're feeling like absolute ass, they'll bring it to you, like Anthony was just saying. They will bring that to your doorstep and say, my dad can handle this. And if we're really going to go, down the deep end of this, we need to look at the fact that the world is insane. The world is absolutely crazy. They're saying that there's no jobs out there. The world's on fire. You have to get mandates. People are getting jabbed. People are getting sick. The world is just across the board lost its damn mind. And teenagers are growing up in this. It's stressful. It's hard. These things are going to fall upon them. And they're like, well, how am I supposed to find my place in a world that's on fire? Well, look, just because the world's on fire doesn't mean you need to be on fire. Your home doesn't need to be on fire. So again, when they go out into the world and they come back, you can see, hey, at least I can put my ship in a nice safe harbor. I can come back together. Welcome back, Anthony. They can pull their ship in and relax. And, I'm good with my dad. We're good. My home is great. The world is crazy, but I know that it's insane. My dad tells me, yeah, it is nuts. So he gets it. And if my dad at 34 can say that, yeah, the world's crazy and this is all insane, well, then when I grow up and I'm 34, it's not going to change. So I need to stop thinking that this is just bad for me right now. It's not bad for them. But only when a parent explains that and connects with them on that level, that adult level, hey, yeah, like things are going to be hard even when you grow up. They'll understand, okay, so this isn't something that's just happening to me. The world doesn't hate me. People don't just hate me. This is life. And my dad's going through it, and here's what he does to get through it. So here's what I'll do to get through it. And you work together. And that is how you get a formula for success. Because you can't even tell that you can't knock the kids for saying, hey, the world sucks. Yeah, no, it absolutely does. Like I'm looking with all the guys inside the fraternity of excellence, and each of them in their own worlds are going out and they're coming back like with some crazy stories as to what's going on. We all know about the mandates, the sickness that's going around, everybody's blaming. But beyond that, just people. Like people are they're either going way left and battening down and hiding and being scared and scarce, or they're going way right and they're more abundant and they're flourishing like greater than ever. And they're viewing this as an opportunity. I am going right. The men in FOE are going right. Our kids, we're bringing them to the right. We're showing them, hey, when somebody's trying to push you down, look for the avenues to grow. Like pressure creates a diamond. Let that thing make you shine and then go achieve things. But if you let it beat you down, you can never win when you quit. And with suicide, that's quitting. That's saying, I can't overcome this. And there's nothing an individual cannot overcome. And that's a point that when your kids are teens, you should be able to share with them your stories of overcoming adversity, of overcoming pain, of overcoming the issues that were thrown your way. Because at that point, they can handle it. They should be able to handle it. As a parent, you should have educated them to that point on being able to process these bigger emotions and these bigger realities of the world. But it takes you to forge that connection. It takes you to connect with them at that level. And again, like I said, going all the way back to high school is not that big of a deal, to the globe is on fire. You have to insert into their world across that whole spectrum, because middle school does matter. High school does matter. Their friends do matter. The world at large is a little fucked up. That's okay though, because in a strong, united home, you find the possibilities and the opportunities that are there. And it's okay to feel sad. There are days where I'm down. There are days where the kids will come back and they're down. Like, that's life. You just circle around, you kind of build yourself back up, and then boom, back to positive and crushing the day. But also, don't let their sad feelings be anything more than just that, a temporary down moment. It's okay. It's good to mourn the loss of a pet. It's good to mourn the loss of a friendship. Bad things happen. That's okay. You will be down. But down doesn't mean depressed. Down doesn't mean suicidal. Down is just down, and that's okay. But if they start to slip beyond that, that's when you really need to look and see, all right, do I need a hard conversation to be had here? Do I really need to jump in, or do I take the roundabout way? And as a parent, it's on you to decide. But at no point have I mentioned the word dismiss what they're going through, because it does matter.
So I caught only the second half of that. I'm sure the first half was good. Laptops dying, dogs barking, the usual going on here.
It's good. This is a family-friendly show.
Yeah, no, I would say that one thing that we should be aware of, or that we should focus on, obviously we never want to get to the point where our child actually thinks about committing suicide. We want to be preventative. We want to make sure we are aware of what's going on. But I think to be aware of all the signs prior, right? There's mental illness that's increasing within adolescents and young children. There's a lot of mental disorders, a lot of things going on that we need to be aware of, right, as fathers. And you don't want to dismiss it, right? We want to give it the attention it deserves. So don't take things lightly. If there's ever a time where your kid says that they want to kill themselves, don't brush it off. Take it very seriously. And I don't care what the circumstances are, right? To utter those words, to say those words, there's something wrong, and you should be picking up on it prior. If your house is one that is constantly chaotic, screaming, yelling, if there's physical violence, if there's things that are not conducive to building a healthy environment, you need to make changes before it's too late, before things really get out of hand. And this is something you can do starting today, right? After you listen to this, you can go into your home and you can say, hey guys, I'm going to stop yelling. I'm going to stop screaming. I'm going to start improving my parenting. I want to be a better father. Just letting everybody know, right? I'm not doing this for some underlying way or reasons. I really want to improve. And that is the single greatest step you can take to bringing more peace and connection to your home, right? To letting your kids know that, all right, dad's going to make these changes. And of course, you're going to have mishaps, right? Of course, you're going to have setbacks. It's not going to go perfect. When you do make mistakes, apologize and continue on course. But don't use this as a tool to manipulate, right? Don't say, hey, I'm sorry, I want to change. And then tomorrow you're screaming and yelling. And I'm sorry, I'm going to change. And then the next day you're screaming and yelling. You have to have integrity. You have to be a man of your word. So if there's something that needs to change, that you want to improve, you need to continually stay on that process. And the great thing about it is once you start to go down this path, that's going to bring more confidence with you as a father. And then these little things won't bother you as much, right? Then the little altercations, or if your son doesn't eat his dinner, if your daughter doesn't want to brush her teeth, that stuff is going to be easy. It's going to be something that you can figure out because you've made the commitment. And these are just the reps that we get in, right? It's brick by brick. We're building this strong foundation. So now when your kids are teenagers, and God forbid it comes up where, Dad, I don't want to be on this planet anymore. I don't want to be live this life. You don't have to let it destroy you, right? It doesn't have to affect you mentally and emotionally, because you've been building for this moment, right? You're prepared to help your kids no matter what. So I think that's something that has prepared me well for everything that's been thrown at me in my life and dealing with my kids and raising them. If I wasn't fully committed and dedicated to my duty as a father, there would have been a lot more pain. There would have been a lot of things that happened that I wouldn't have had control over how I navigated through them. And a lot of the outcomes probably would have been a lot worse. But because I decided, over a decade ago to develop as a father, to develop as a man, I can weather these hard times, right? I can get past the situations that most of us allow to overcome us. And then that's where we become that person that we really don't like. That's when we're that aggressive father, that abusive father, that father who has no emotional control. Starts with you.
And that's the thing, man, being proactive versus reactive. Like I said, my kids are entering the teen years. My son's 12, so he's the first one up. And we've already had the talks. We've already had the discussions. We've already dove deep, into processing these things, and him knowing, like, whatever it is, bring it up. There's nothing that's off limits. There's nothing that's taboo. And his dad, I've shown time and again through the reps, hey, I mean what I'm saying. Like, I'm there. I don't call him out or tease him for the things I see a lot of dads teasing their kids for, because they don't ever want them to hide that thing. So they go ahead and share it. We're rolling. It's one of those things too, though, where this is not something we bring up because it's a hot topic. We bring it up because it's absolutely fucking necessary. We're not talking about this because, suicide, that's a powerful word on the search engine, let's get it on YouTube. No, there's a lot of fucking kids dying by their own hand because they can't find any peace within their fucking life. And it's frustrating. And, and as two dads going through trying to bring peace into the home, to hear these kids are in pain to the point where they want to take their life, it's absolutely frustrating. It's insane, and it's like nails on a chalkboard. You hear that, I'm just so, like, immediately frustrated, because it's like, damn, like, how many of these were preventable by a dad finding the right video on YouTube, like, understanding, holy fuck, I'm fucking my family up. I'm not there when it needs to be. I'm not taking it seriously. And now my kid's gone forever. And I wish I could go back. I wish I could have that talks. But if we record a video like this, at least we can say we tried. And so now the burden was on us to get this off our chest. And both of us had something to say, specifically to the point on being proactive. Independently, we reached that point. Like, you got to talk to them before it's a problem. Because if it's a problem, now you're playing catch up. And now you only have as much time as your child has decided they have. And if that's a short amount of time, you might not have enough time to fix it. But if you're doing things now, that extends your child's, like, well, maybe, I'll talk to my dad. Maybe I'll figure that, maybe we can. And the longer that they can get out of that headspace, the less of a chance you have anything bad happening. So that's why we're talking about this. But that's why it's absolutely necessary. You take what you learned here and you apply it to your home today. Remove the taboo, remove the pain, remove the violence, remove the mockery. Get on your kids' level, connect with them, and let them know you will always be there for them. This has only gotten worse since COVID and all the lockdowns and all that shit has happened. It's not getting better. We're not on a positive trend here. We're on a downward trend. So get involved with your kids, get in their lives, and keep them standing upright on this planet for another day. This has been another episode on Oak and Rock Fatherhood.